To start with, I would like to say that freedom is amazing. We live in a remarkable country because we have the freedom to do so much. It's great. But the thing is, I think some of you don't realize what freedom truly is. Well, there are actually two types of freedom, and I don't think you understand how either one works. There's God's freedom, and there's American freedom. You've probably read many verses on God's freedom, but have you read them in context? Make sure you do, because if not, then you might get the wrong idea about God. And that's probably the worst thing you can do. What is freedom in America? Freedom isn't just about what you want, it's about what everyone wants. And to participate in American freedom is to understand that people will and can do stuff you don't like. That's America. If you live in America, you have to allow stuff you don't like in this country, including sinful activities. America is not God's country. It belongs to humans. We are no different than ancient Israel. And you know what happened to them? They made their own decisions on what freedom was, and they ran with it, committing quite horrific acts and suffering not one but two major exiles, the last one lasting just a little shy of 2 millennia. The freedom of our individual countries is not God's freedom. It's doing whatever the hell you want. Maybe literally whatever the hell you want. That's the basis of it. There was a situation that made me think of this. As you might know, I work at a library. Luckily, this incident didn't happen to me, but I overheard it. A patron was complaining that there was a homosexual book in the kids section, which isn't a new complaint, but it got me thinking that we're in a public library in America, the freest country in the world, and I realized that American freedom is recognizing that you're just going to have to accept that homosexual books can be in a public library. Trust me, I dislike that in some ways as much as you do. Obviously, I don't want to get into that because that's not the point of the video, and I'd rather not get canceled right now. But yeah, it can lead to your 3-year-old finding a book with 2 dads in it. Why? Because this is what America actually is. This is what freedom is. Here's an exercise that I want you to do. When you wave an American flag, I want you to think or say, I understand that it's okay to have books about homosexuality in a public library. Or, you don't have to be specific, but I want you to remember that there can be stuff that you disagree with in the library. Just think of everything you disagree with, or everything that you know is a sin, and yeah, that can be put in a library, and it can be put on YouTube, and on TV shows, and movies, and everything imaginable. Every time you see an American flag, I want you to think about that. Because American freedom means that we get to participate in sin. That's what we classify as freedom. That's why this is one of the most ironic things of all time, because it's the people with American flags on their trucks that are saying, it's my way or the highway. No, the definition of America is, it's everybody's way, and I'm just going to have to accept it. But here's a radical idea. Well, it's actually not radical at all because the Bible makes it clear. But the truth I'm about to share will not be on any bumpers in the church parking lot, even though it is biblical. Romans 6:18 says, You have been set free from sin and have become slaves to righteousness. People, to be righteous is to be a slave. Let's do another one. 1 Peter 2:16. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Here's the truth. The only real Christians are the ones that are a slave to Christ. If you're not a slave to Christ, then you're not a Christian, plain and simple. Now, of course, a very important concept we need to understand is that there are bad masters. I already covered this in one of my first videos. The Bible is clear that even freedom is slavery. To live in the world's freedom is to live in bondage to sin. But the whole point of Christianity is that we accept God as our master so we don't have to be slaves to sin. That's the real freedom. The freedom from sin and death, for that matter. That sounds great to me. God is perfect, so if I'm going to have a master, then I want it to be him. Matthew 11:30. Why do you think it says his yoke is easy and his burden is light? He has the yoke of slavery, just like everything else, but it's a light yoke. He's a merciful God, a kind God, and America's not going to be kind to you, I can tell you that. So maybe don't rely on the freedom of your country. Rely on the freedom of God.